This is the story of the day I faced a bear, wearing only a hat and a shotgun. I was wearing the hat and the shotgun, not the bear. So let's rewind a little bit to when I lived in Vermont. This was the early days of my dome living in Vermont. I'd kind of gotten everything set up. I was living very comfortably, very happily. And then I met this girl. It wasn't the first time I'd ever met a girl, but I met a girl. We became good friends. We dated a little bit, and we got involved in some, little business things, and we had some projects we did together. And then we decided to buy a beat-up old house, renovate it, and then sell it for a profit. And then we'd split the profits. And she fronted most of the money, and I was doing most of the work. So I'm working on this house, and kind of halfway through it, she asked me for, I don't know, like the 80,000th time, so when's it gonna be done? What's the schedule? What's the finish date? And I'm just like, okay, look, 2 months, if you're here, or a little over a month if you go away. Because at this point, she'd kind of done all the things she could do, and she was getting a little antsy, had nothing to do. So anyway, she's like, "Ooh, yay, vacation." So she hops in her van like the next day, starts driving to Alaska. Okay, so it's just me there by myself. Now I can just really crank out the work and just not pay attention to anything else. And then, like, later that day, a pizza shows up at the door. And I'm like, I didn't order a pizza. And the guy's like, this is a pizza for, I'm not sure what the name was, William or something? And I was like, oh, there's no William here. It must be a mistake. So he leaves, and then I go back in, and I get a call from this girl, and she's like, "Hey, did you get the pizza?" And I'm like, "Ah!" Just so I hang up the phone, run out, and I'm like, "Okay, it was me. It was the right place. Give me the pizza." Ah, that was nice. Ooh, that was a good pizza. Anyway, I continue my renovations, and a month later, she calls me from Alaska, and maybe a little over a month later, she says, "So, how long you got left?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm almost done. Just wrapping up like a couple things, crossing some I's, dotting some T's kind of stuff. A little bit of touch-up paint, stuff like that. I should be done in a week, if I kind of go at a leisurely pace." And she's like, "Well, how about 3 days?" And I'm like, 3 days? Why? And she's like, "Including today." And I'm like, "Today's over. That means 2 days." I'm like, "Okay, what happens in 2 days?" And she's like, "Well, there's this flight." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you want me to do in Alaska?" She's like, "Well, there's this land." And I'm like, "And you want me to build a house on it?" And she's like, "Yes, I do." And I'm like, "So you want me to build this house for free?" And she's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay, here's the deal. You pay for everything. You pay for the transportation, the food. I don't even pull out my wallet. I don't want to spend a cent on this thing. I don't want to have you owe me money afterwards. I don't want to front any. You just take care of everything, and I will come build you a house." And she's like, "Yes, free house." And I'm like, "Yes, free vacation." So I'm like, "Okay, just tell me the flight I need to make, and I gotta go finish this house, like, now. Okay, bye." So I stayed up all that night and all the next night, just working, finishing the rest of the last things in the house. And I get to the airport, get on the plane, fly to Alaska, land there, and she picks me up in her giant yellow van, and I get in the van, and she opened the front door, and I just went right to the sliding door in the back. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm taking a nap," because she had a bed in the back. And she's like, "Why? Aren't you excited to be here?" And I'm like, "I haven't slept since we talked on the phone 3 days ago." She's like, "Oh, okay." So I went and had a nap. So we spent a couple days in Anchorage. That's where the airplane landed. And Anchorage is like where half the occupants of Alaska live, roughly. And it's got all the chain stores, all the chain restaurants. It's got like a Home Depot with Hooters in the parking lot. It's got Taco Bell. It's got all that stuff, shopping malls and whatever. So she did the paperwork while we were in Anchorage to buy this land that I hadn't seen yet. It was some 10 acres, miles and miles away. And we went to Home Depot to get stuff, to get tools to build whatever we're building there. And in the meantime, I'd been kind of asking her questions about what she wanted to do, drawing out pictures, like kind of like this, kind of making plans, figuring out what to build. So we go to Home Depot, and it's got the Hooters in the parking lot. We walk by the Hooters, and she says, my ex-boyfriend used to go there all the time, and he said it was for the delicious food. And I know he was just there to stare at those boobs. And I was like, okay, so no Hooters. I've never been into Hooters. I don't know. Let's go get our stuff from Home Depot. And she kept saying that she couldn't find any hot wings anywhere in Anchorage, because she loved hot wings. This was like a big thing for her. Anyway, we're at Home Depot. We stuff her van full of like plywood and insulation and tools. We got a Fisker's axe. Fisker's axe. Oh, I love the Fisker's axe. Oh, it's one of my favorite tools ever. Just to give you an idea, a few weeks later, a friend was visiting, a guy we met in Alaska, and we were all piled on this girl's ATV driving through her land, and we come up to this log that was blocking the path. Now normally we would just kind of go around the log and keep going, and the guy's like, hey, just stop here for a second, I'll pull out my chainsaw and I'll cut the log out of the way, then we can go straight through. And I stood up, picked up the axe off the front of the ATV, and I said to him, I can cut through this log with this Fisker's axe before you can start that chainsaw. And he looks at me, and he starts pumping the gas primer, and I start hacking away at the log. And he's pumping the thing, and he switches the choke, and he gives it a yank, and he glances up and sees I'm sitting. He's like, what happened? Did you quit? And he looks at the log. It's cut clean through. And he's like, whoa, that was impressive. And I'm like, yeah, man, the Fisker's axe. Oh, there, I have one right here. Oh, beautiful tools. Anyway, back to where we were. In Anchorage, we stuffed the van so full of stuff, and we can barely get the doors closed, and then we know we can't stop anywhere because she was sleeping in the van and I'd been sleeping in a tent. There's nowhere for her to sleep at this point. The van is packed. So we drive 8 hours east through just beautiful countryside. And it keeps getting more and more wild as we go. The roads kind of get smaller. The towns get smaller as we're going, and more, what's the word? Not creepy. It just gets more wild as we're going. And then 5 hours into it, we get to the end of pavement. And then it's 3 hours down a dirt road. This is a long dirt road. And this is the kind of dirt road where if you go too fast, you're going to you're going to blow a tire, destroy your suspension. You can't go that fast down this dirt road. So we get to the town that's near where she's bought this land. And then there's a bunch of logistics to deal with, figuring out how to get stuff across the river and then to her property. And she ends up buying this beat-up old ATV, which still works, the one from the axe story. And that was useful for a lot of things. And, she had a bike there, too. And, we basically figured out how to get stuff going. And I start building this house. And it's, at first, the plan was to make this house 20 feet off the ground. Because I told her we can basically do anything. Like, I can do anything you want. It's just how much time do we have? So she's like, and I was like, we could make your house 20 feet off the ground if you want. And she said, okay, yeah. I was like, okay. So I cut this first post for this 20-foot raised house, and I stand it up, and she's looking at it like, and I'm like, are you sure you want your house this high off the ground? And she's like, do I have another option? And I was like, we can cut it in half, make it 10 feet. She's like, yes, I want it 10 feet off the ground, not 20 feet. 20 feet is high. Anyway, so I'm making this platform 10 feet off the ground, and it wasn't straight up posts. It was like posts that zigzagged up and down. So it was all triangulated to make it really rigid and strong. And the foundation was basically holes with like rocks in them like the biggest rocks I could move. It was going very well, and I got the platform up there, and getting the platform up was a huge step, because before this she'd been sleeping in her van, which was pretty secure, but I'd been sleeping in a tent, like right on the building site. And actually, I think she ended up staying there in another tent right on the building site for a while too. Um, the problem is there's a lot of wildlife in Alaska, so sleeping in a tent, you kind of end up sleeping lightly, because there are bears, like giant bears that could just tear you in half and throw one piece over there and eat this other half and then go get that other piece for a snack, like big bears. And then there's moose. Moose are scary too. And even the black bears were scary, because they had to compete with the brown bears, these brown grizzly bears, which were huge. So the black bears got huge too. Anyway, there's some dangerous, scary stuff. So once I got the 10-foot platform up, I put my tent up there, and I slept much more soundly. But this whole time working, it was just like a constant marathon, because there were mosquitoes. Oh, the mosquitoes in Alaska are bad. They're like flocks of birds, and if you weren't moving fast enough, they would just swarm you, and you could feel them like bouncing off you and landing on you, and it was like, oh yeah. So I spent a lot of time running. So anytime I was going from here to there, I didn't walk, I was running. I was building, I was moving, I had fire going with smoke to keep them away. You know, the mosquitoes were pretty bad, because we got there kind of right during mosquito season. And so every day at the end of the day when I, let me think. Yeah, so every day, at the end of the day, I always wanted to get clean. Because there's one thing, like, I'm completely comfortable with getting dirty during the day, doing all kinds of work. You know, I'll poop outside, no problem, all this stuff. I'm totally good with wilderness living. But one thing I really, really like is to be clean at the end of the day. Like, really clean, for real. So at the end of every day, I would run 3 miles, I think it was, to this creek. And I would run it because of the mosquitoes, you know. So I'd run over to this creek, and it was a glacier-fed creek, so it was freezing cold, but it was just a little bit off the road. It was easy to get to, so I'd run there, go in, jump in with my onesie, because that's like all I wore during this whole month and a half. I don't know how long it was. I just wore a onesie. It was, you know, like the painter's suit, like the one piece everything, and the pockets are just holes, because supposedly you have other clothes under so you can get to those pockets, but I didn't have any clothes under, so I just kind of pinned those shut so everyone wasn't like, ooh, that guy's naked under there. So anyway, I jump in the freezing cold water with my onesie and my socks, and that was all I had, my onesie and my socks. And I'd wash them and just shake around and squeeze them out, throw them up on the rocks, and then I'd get out. And people would come by. You know, I wasn't like right beside the road or anything. But no one cares about a naked guy. And you know, sometimes people would stop and, you know, look at the creek, look over at me, and I'd be like, just so you know, I'm butt naked. I'm about to get out. So if you don't want to show, just let you know. So usually people would carry on, but once in a while there'd be like a gaggle of hiking girls there, and they'd be like, woo, yeah, woohoo. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so every day I would get clean in this frigid water, and it felt so good. Oh, it felt so good. And one thing the frigidness did was it cooled my body temperature, at least my skin temperature, enough that the mosquitoes didn't really detect me until I warmed up again. Oh, it was so nice. So yeah, I'm continuing to work on this thing, and there are other logistics to think about other than the building, like these bears were a constant scare. So the girl I was building the house for, she bought a shotgun from the friend who came to visit, and you know, just in case we needed to defend ourselves. And we started having red bear drills. Now, red bear drills it was sort of like a fire drill. So one day, she went up to this set of 2 trees with a couple boards, and she wedged a board between the 2 trees, and then wedged another board between the 2 trees. And then she got a can of spray paint, red spray paint, and she spray painted a heart on this one board. And on the other board, she spray painted some lungs. And I looked at this and I was like, did you just make testicles? And she's like, no, they're not testicles. This is a heart and this is lungs. And I was like, oh, so it looks exactly like testicles. And it's under. Maybe you should move it up. Anyway. So she drew the heart and lungs thing. And every once in a while, every day or two, someone would yell, "Red bear! Red bear!" And you had to make sure you yelled the red part clearly so no one thought it was a real bear, so they know this was just a drill. And when one person yelled, "Red bear," it was the other person's job to find the gun where the gun was usually up in the house that was being constructed. So they run up the stairs, open the door to the platform, get up there, get the shotgun, and shoot the heart out, and then shoot out the lungsticles, whatever it was. And then that was the red bear drill. And this was to kind of train us to be able to, shoot something if we needed to in a semi-possible panic situation without panicking and without shooting ourselves or shooting at anyone else. Although she did one day, when the windows were in, run up into the house for a red bear drill, push the window open, take aim, and the window closed while she was aiming, and she blew a hole right through the side of the frame of the window. Luckily, it didn't break the glass or anything. And these were really nice window frames that I made with a chainsaw, like cutting out the grooves for the glass and everything. Yeah, I did a lot of fine chainsaw work, which is kind of dangerous, but I don't know how other people handle dangerous situations like that, but for me, what I do is I kind of have this overlay over the world. So if I'm chainsawing something, I have this like red flashing danger zone around the dangerous part. Or if there's a knife in the room, the edge of the knife is like kind of flashing red danger, and the point of the knife is red danger. Or if I'm driving in a car, I kind of have these like little zones. Like if I go here, this is dangerous. This is less dangerous. It's just kind of this overlay over the world as I'm looking at it. What's dangerous and what's not. So, when I'm chainsawing these things, it's kind of a dangerous thing, but I'm very aware of the red danger zones. And this over here, there's a sharp thing. Don't step on that. Anyway, so I had no accidents or anything. Everything was totally fine, even though there was a lot of dangerous stuff going on. So at some point, I got the walls on and the roof panels on. Now the paint wasn't on, the roof metal wasn't on. There was still a lot left to do, but I got the house enclosed enough that mosquitoes couldn't get in. Oh, it was such an amazing day. No mosquitoes were getting into the house. So that night, I got into the house and just threw off all my clothes and was like, I'm sleeping butt naked. I'm just going to sprawl out. And I mean, she'd seen me naked before. She didn't care. When you live out in the wilderness, people stop caring about nakedness. And I just laid out up on the loft, butt naked. Oh, so comfortable. I just had my freezing cold bath, and I was all clean and feeling just great, and I didn't have to wear anything, and there was no mosquitoes on me. Oh, it was so nice. And the next morning, I heard this crashing metal sound. Like the roofing metal we had was being knocked over in this thump thump. And it sounded like a 1,200-pound human was stomping around downstairs. And I was laying there sleeping, and I heard this, and it was just like, and she sits up, and she looks at me. Is that the bear? Now, the bear she's talking about is a couple days previous to this, we'd made another trip to Anchorage to get more supplies. And we came back to find the place had been kind of ransacked a little, with big teeth marks on a lot of stuff. And the cooler, which was buried in the ground, which she apparently left a stick of butter in, had been dug up and kind of chewed up a little, and the stick of butter was gone, but the wrapper was there. And so we were very aware that there was a bear in the area that knew we had stuff, and we'd asked around, if we've had this bear situation, what should we do about it? And everyone there said, okay, look, if a bear comes to visit you, like comes to your house once, it might just leave and not come back. But if it comes back twice, you're going to have to kill it, because it's going to keep coming back. Like, you basically have to shoot it. And so we're like, whoa, okay. So I wake up and I'm like, oh crap, the bear's back. That means it's just going to keep coming back. Like, he thinks this is his territory now. Like, he's going to try to kill one of us because we're here. But this is his feeding zone. And my friend is there, and she just said, is that the bear? And then she says, there's a cooler made out of hot dogs in the ground. Because we'd just come back from getting food, and they're buried in the ground was this mountain of hot dogs and sausages. That's our food supply. So I'm like, well, I got to do something about this. So I jump off the loft, land on the floor, and I have two hands. So one hand I grab the shotgun. That's my priority. The other hand I grab a hat. Now you may be wondering, why would he grab a hat? As opposed to maybe pants? Pants. Maybe you should grab pants. No, I grabbed a shotgun and I grabbed a hat because the hat goes over my ears, gives me a bit of ear protection when I'm making the shotgun noise. And, my heart's kind of starting to race a little bit at this point. Because I know I have to deal with this thing. I at least have to scare this bear away before it tears into this hot dog pile, because once it gets a hold of this pile of hot dogs that's in the ground, then I'm going to be fighting the bear for the hot dogs, in addition to just trying to get him to go away. He's not going to give that up very easily. So I go and pull the door open. The door was like a big door built into the floor that pulls up, kind of like maybe that you'd see in someone's attic or something. So this big door, and I start pulling on the door to pull it up, and what comes flooding up from under the door, from outside, is this pulsating red danger. Remember what I was talking about when I was talking about the chainsaw? I would see, like, I just have this, it's just an imaginary thing. It's not even really red, it's an abstract thing, but it's just like, my brain overlays. This is the danger right here. This is the danger. There's a sharpening. That's got danger. I start pulling the door open, and just everything is red and pulsating. Danger, danger. And my feet are in the danger, and I'm like backing up a little bit, trying to kind of stay out of the danger zone, keep the door between me and the opening. Because for all I know, this bear is like right there, about to stick his hand up, except he doesn't have hands. He's got these claws that are like this big, covered in like stabbers. And I'm pulling this door open, and my heart just starts, and I'm just like, I'm scared, like legit, like really scared at this point. And I'm like, okay, I know I cannot panic. I cannot panic. Because if I panic and go down here, there's a good chance I'm going to die. There's a chance I'll die anyway. But if I panic, there's a very good chance I'll die. My best chance for survival right now is to not panic, keep my stuff together, figure out what I need to do in the next 2 or 3 seconds before I go down here and face this monster. So I'm pulling open the door. This is all happening within like a second or two. All this stuff running through my head. I'm pulling up the door. I'm looking down, and I think there's got to be something in my experiences, in my life, that can give me some way to be prepared for this. It's like, I've never gone into a situation where there's a monster, and I've got a shotgun, and I need to go fight this mysterious thing. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, I do have that experience. I played a lot of Doom 2. Like, a lot. I was pretty good at that. I know from Doom 2 where I need to position myself to put myself in a safety position and put the enemy in a danger position. I know how to burst into a room with an opponent who I know cannot projectile anything, opponent who doesn't have a gun, an opponent who only has melee. I need to burst in the room, go past any blind spots, then swing around, check the blind spots. I know how to do this. I've done it like thousands of times in video games. And I'm like, okay, and I'm strong and agile. I can perform these feats in real life. So I'm just like, okay, and I'm just, I'm like scared and kind of on the verge of panicking, to the point where I'm like, no, I just have to completely immerse myself in this Doom world. And I look at the shotgun, and just like in Doom 2, there's a single barrel pump action shotgun. I'm like, okay, I'm in Doom 2 right now. I got my shotgun. I'm not wearing any clothes except a hat, but that's okay. I'm going in. So I get the door open all the way, and my eyes are like, they're like wide open. I am like 100% awake and aware. Like scared, but like ready to go. So I check, the bear's not under the stairs where he could grab my feet, and I start going down the stairs. Just like I'm bursting into a room in Doom where I know there's monsters who cannot projectile at me, but who have melee weapons. I start going down the stairs, one step at a time, no double stepping, because I can't slip, and I may have to retreat at some point. I cannot slip. So I'm going down the stairs, and my heart's like, go, 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 go. And I get to the bottom of the stairs, and as I'm going down, I can see more and more, and I can see the bear's not in this front area. So I get down to the bottom and run straight for one of the spots where the posts of the house come, and run around to the other side of the post and swing around and check the blind spots where I just came from to see there's nothing there. Okay, there's no bear there. And then I'm just checking, like going through the little area there, just like in Doom, keeping myself behind cover, knowing where I have to go if something comes out of here or wherever, and just everything is red at this point. But as I'm checking things, the red zones, the red danger zones, like the imaginary red zones, are kind of disappearing as I'm checking. And then I stop, and I'm like, okay, he's not right here. Let me just stop. And I get very quiet, and then I hear over here, dunk, 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 like crashing through the bushes and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm like 99% sure that's the bear right there, running away. I'm like, okay, I just need to maybe take a couple, I'll take a couple shots at like a tree stump or something, just to make noise, to hopefully scare him away more. So I walk over, there's a good stump. And I made sure I didn't shoot all my bullets. I had 3 bullets in that gun. The first one was a bird shot, which wouldn't do anything anyway. It would just piss him off. So it was good to use that one up. And then I shot a slug, and I knew I had 1 more slug. Now, I'm standing there naked, shooting at a tree stump. And while all this is going on, my friend is up there on the balcony of the house with her camera. Now, this may sound kind of cold, but I had left her with instructions previously. I said to her when we first got to Alaska, if at any point in time I am in a mortal combat situation with some beast of some sort and I may die, do not try to help me. First, you probably can't help me anyway. Second, your job is to get the camera and get some pictures, because if I'm almost going to die fighting a thing, I want some pictures. So I made her promise this. And sure enough, there she was up there taking some pictures of my naked butt shooting a shotgun at nothing. Now subsequently, I don't know, it was like the next day or 2 days later, the guy on the next 10-acre property over, he shot a bear. Presumably the same bear. And just to wrap everything up, finally on our second last trip to Anchorage, we went to that Home Depot, and my friend stopped at the Hooters and looked at the Hooters. And she said, you know, I really want some hot wings. And my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, he said he went in here for the food. And, you know, I think it's kind of not fair of me to presume he was lying. I should probably go in and check, you know. I was like, alright, let's go into Hooters. So we went in there. She ordered some wings, and I ordered some giant meal of 8,000 calorie, I don't know what. And she takes that first bite of those wings, and she goes, oh, this is the best thing I have ever eaten in my entire life. And from then on, she was a Hooters customer. And I think she really just liked staring at the